What's going on there, everyone? I was sitting there going through YouTube and everything, watching a couple people, and I've mentioned him before. He's he's a social liberal that I watch because he's one of the few liberals that I can actually tolerate. Like he uses his mind for what it's for, and not for evil and destruction. So he kind of makes sense. I don't agree with everything, but I think I say that about everybody that I kind of watch, is I don't agree with everything anybody says. But he had a video on today talking about the Ferguson conspiracy that's going around right now. Now, if you're not familiar with this, what it is in Ferguson, where they had all those riots and stuff because the police shot that unarmed black guy. Um, a lot of people, well, 6 men that are associated with that protest, have either been killed, committed suicide, or something. Something they died. So now there's a conspiracy theory going around that something's odd about what's going on. And he mentions in his podcast, or whatever you want to call it, he mentions in his video that there seems to be a pattern. But he also recognizes that the human brain is always searching for patterns. We're always looking for patterns. We start as little kids looking for patterns. You look up at the sky and try to find things in the clouds, you know? So this is most likely that's what's happening here. It's just an odd circumstance happening. But I have something I would like to add to that. I think he touched on it a little bit in his video, but I'm going to go just a little bit further. And that's mental health of liberals and leftist activists and leftist protesters, and just the left in general. There's been a remarkable amount of studies showing that conservatives are generally happier. They have a better sense of well-being in the world. And there's quite a few studies you can look at too. I mean, this is not something that's just been recently thought up. Most of the studies I'm referring to are relatively older. Um, this one I'm going to cite right here is a 40-year study, and I'll put all the links in the descriptions to some of these studies. They're on random sites and everything. But yeah, it shows that uh, there is a happiness gap between conservatives and liberals, and it goes into some of the ideology and why they think um, this is happening. But what it seems to be coming down to is, do you feel that your life has purpose, and do you understand what that purpose of your life is? And it seems to be overwhelmingly that conservatives, whether religious or not religious, and that's a big point, whether religious or not religious, are still generally more happier and still feel that they have a real purpose. You know, whether they, I mean, because a lot of conservatives are conservative Christians. Their purpose is God and that, this, that, and the other religion. You know, and other conservatives that are more agnostic type, they uh, they still they still pull together stuff like that with their family, their work, their attitude, just how they present themselves, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. But that's mainly what the studies are finding, is just we're so different on the way we value our own lives and stuff. It's pretty fascinating. But what is this one? The study finds that people who are more socially conservative, i.e., people who oppose gay rights or abortion, I oppose abortion, I don't oppose gay rights. That's an individual thing. If you do what you want, are more likely to find meaning in life. This reflects a major tenet in political conservatism, the adherence to traditional practices and resistance to change. Yeah, that makes sense. Finding the meaning in life is related to the sense or feeling that things are the way they should be and that there's a sense of order. If life feels chaotic, then that would likely dampen your sense that life is meaningful. That statement right there makes a lot of sense with how I'm putting this towards the left and liberals. The left and the liberals here within the past few years have been constantly becoming more chaotic in everything they do. Even in our government now, you have the radical left that's coming in and shaking everything up, but not in a good way. Sometimes it's good to have someone come in and shake things up, but not in this circumstance. But yeah, it's fascinating to me. It is pretty fascinating to me. Yeah, a political science journal that published an oft-cited study claiming conservatives were more likely to show traits associated with psychoticism now say they got it wrong, very wrong. Now, this is an older one. The American Journal of Political Science published a correction this year saying that the 2012 paper, like I said, I don't think this goes for this year. This may be a study going back to 2016, I believe. I believe it was the study was in 2012, but it's been corrected in 2016. And the 2012 paper has an error, and that liberal political beliefs, not conservative ones, are actually linked to psychosis. The interpretation of the coding of the political attitude items in the descriptive and preliminary analysis portion of the manuscript was exactly reversed, the journal said, in the startling correction. And you know what's funny? There for a long time the media was saying something like that. I remember this. Oh, it's probably around that time that they were saying conservatives are more likely to be unhinged, and that's just because, oops, they screwed up the study. It was exactly backwards. I wonder what they have to say about it now. Odd, they haven't said a word about it. That's what they like to do. If it doesn't work for them, sweep that shit under the rug. But yeah, there's a lot of things about the liberals. Their activism, really, it's their love of activism and protest. It blows my mind because I work out a little bit. I like to work out, and there's certain things you have to keep in check when you're working out. And one, which this has relevance, that's why I'm going into it, is your cortisol levels. And this is cortisol levels in these liberal young protesters, and you know, I think that's what's causing them to go crazy. Cortisol is a very, very powerful hormone in your body. I'll get to that in a little bit. But this is a article from 2016. So this is, I wanted to go back to right before Trump got in office because once Trump got in office, all the liberals lost freaking half the sense they had in their head. But this is from Reason.com. Liberal activism is giving students panic attacks, depression, failing grades. All right, blah 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 blah. They kept this person's name anonymous, because college kids are a bunch of snowflakes. There are people. This is a quote from a college kid at Brown University. There are people breaking down, dropping out of classes, and failing classes because of the activism work they are taking on. An undergraduate whose name has been changed, they call him David, to preserve his anonymity. Throughout the year, He has worked to confront issues of racism and diversity on campus. His role as a student activist has taken a toll on his mental health, physical, and emotional health. My grades have dropped dramatically. My health completely changed. I lost weight. I'm on antidepressants and anti anxiety pills right now, counseling and psychological services. Uh, I had deans calling me to make sure I was okay. He said, "See, this is crazy. See, this is why I go back into cortisol because everything he said is consistent with cortisol issues. When he says my health completely changed, I lost weight, he got depressed, his grades dropped dramatically, which means he wasn't as sharp. That's all symptoms of you have too much cortisol in your body, and that's your stress hormone. Now, when you encounter a threat, in this instance, we'll use a liberal protest confronting a conservative protest. There, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but it's your hypothalamus. I think that's how you say it. Your hypothalamus. It's a tiny little spot near the base of your brain. It's your body's alarm system. It's just like a stressor alarm system. It's a combination of nerves, hormones, and glands, like your adrenal glands and all that. It all gets all jazzed up, and but it includes your adrenal and your cortisol. Everyone knows adrenaline increases heart rate, elevates your blood pressure, boosts energy. You know, it's your fight or flight thing. If you got a problem, you got to get the hell out of there. That's what adrenaline's really good for. Excuse me. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It enhances your brain's use of glucose and increases the availability of substances that repair tissue. Cortisol also curbs functions that would be non essential or detrimental in a fight or flight situation. So it's working with your adrenaline. It alters immune system responses and suppresses the digestive system, the reproductive system, and growth processes. This complex natural alarm system also communicates with regions of your brain that control mood, motivation, and fear. Now, what's important with understanding this and why you're seeing a really crazy uptick in liberal activists having a lot of mental issues is because they're constantly flooded with cortisol. They are constantly stressed over stuff they just generally shouldn't be worrying about at any particular time. They're sitting there, they're going into these colleges, they're getting indoctrinated by these radical leftist professors. They're actually intaking everything that these professors say without doing their own separate research because hey, it's a professor telling me this. They got to be right. They work at the college. They have to be right. But that's not the case. Everyone has opinions, and opinions generally aren't fact based, especially on the left. Sorry. But they're sitting here, they're getting their heads pumped full of all this. Uh, the world's so racist, xenophobic, homophobic, this, that, and the other. Uh, we're being attacked. They it's like they always feel they're under attack from something or someone. Well, if you constantly are stressed, your body is constantly pumping cortisol into your body. That's gonna change everything about you. It can change your mood. You're most likely gonna get more depressed. You're gonna get more lethargic, which is generally the more lethargic you get, the more depressed you get because you just don't feel like doing anything. So you mope around, you sit around, and then yeah, it's just crazy. I think that's what the main problem is. These kids are just overstressing themselves. because they like the adrenaline feeling of what they're doing when they're out in the streets doing their dumb, destructive, whatever protests they're doing, or just being annoying and harassing people. They're so used to the adrenaline of that. It's like they're addicted to that feeling, but they don't realize that they're flooding their bodies with cortisol during that too. And then when they're constantly worked up, when they're not at a protest, when they're trying to figure things out, or they're in their little tribal groups just talking about stuff that angers them, they're flooding themselves constantly with cortisol then. I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to get away from the conspiracy side of it because I don't think there's conspiracies going on. I think this is a mental disorder that the left and progressives are propagating onto themselves by constant worry, constant dread, constant fear that the world is coming to an end because of global warming, this, that, and the other. I mean, they constantly have these fears that are way over dramatized, and they just they don't see it. They think it's all this is what they should be worried about. Pick and choose your battles, people. Don't pick stuff that's way over your head. Learn how to be happy with life. Learn how to be happy with yourself. Learn how to be happy with others. You don't have to agree with people to be happy with them. Not at all. I disagree with almost everybody I come in contact with. But I still like them. I still get along with them. And their life still does not affect my life. It's a wonderful way to live. People on the left try it out. Well, as always, like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch y'all on the flip side. And I'm not going to edit this video. I'm just going to throw it in there. It's late. I'm tired. I hurt. As you can see, my neck's crooked. I pulled something in my neck when I was working out. So I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Y'all take care. Have a good week.